Okay, and we are live. Hello, everyone. I am joined today by a guest that some of you might already know, Bryan Lucas from a poet. So here he is. You guys can say hello. Um,
So
so we have a few
yeah,
people
I can't
here
see.
already. Yes. So because we are doing the stream off of Skype, um, Bryan. I always call him poet, but Bryan is can't see the comments. But I'll read some over. So we have Joel McCoy here saying hello to all. Hope today is the best day of your life. May peace and kindness be all you encounter. And we have the inappropriate
Hey, Joel.
heifer saying hey hey.
AF
Oh God! And now the llamas are also saying hello.
llamas.
They also have some trauma. That's why this happens. They fought trauma,
Trauma llama.
trauma llamas and pajamas, or in this case, it's a jacket. But I had to. I just had to. And I think you have.
And it's Star Wars.
Yeah, don't you have like Star Wars stuff in
Okay.
the back of your?
Yeah, I'm a big geek. I'm a big nerd. Yeah, and I remember going to see the original. I was 5 years old. I
Oh,
remember the long lines. I remember the trash compactor scene, the cantina Moss Isley, the award ceremony at the end, and did I mention the long lines? You know, yeah. So I'm an old school Star Wars fan.
wait. How old are you now? Because not everybody knows you, and not everybody.
51,
50 what?
51, 51. I'll be 52 in March,
Oh, you're
March 16th.
you are young. You do not look your age at all. It's a
Yeah,
vibe.
I always joke with people. I've heard that a lot. I always joke with people that I'm 10, 15 years behind the curve on most things. So you know,
I think age is mostly a vibe, really. I think that, it is.
I'm I joke. Another joke is I'm 51, going on 15, and sometimes I have the emotional reaction of a 3-year-old.
Same here. I'm a 3-year-old too. So, I want to ask for those who don't know you, just introduce yourself really quickly. What do you do? Where you are
Well,
from? All that stuff.
my full name is David Bryan Lucas. I've gone by Bryan all my life. I think there's a reason behind that. I was born in West Virginia, 1972. And a little over a year old, I moved to Arkansas. Just imagine the jokes I got when I got out into the world. West Virginia to Arkansas? Was that a step up or a step down or a step sideways? you know, yeah. So I say I'm from hillbilly stock, redneck raised. Um, I grew up in a very, very small town called Enola. If you spell it backwards, it spells alone, Alone.
Oh.
LA. Um, there's a legend around here why how it got its name. Um, a very, very small town uh, with the small town vibes. More like a village. I wouldn't even call it a small town. Most people think small town, think 1,000 plus people. You ain't got nothing on me. I graduated with like 13 people, including myself. So we were basically in an extended family. Everybody knew everybody.
Typical village
Even if you
stuff.
didn't know what was going on, even if you didn't know what was going on behind closed doors, you still knew, because the rumors and all that stuff, they run rampant sometimes in small towns.
Yeah, I know.
And my family were outsiders, because we moved in here. My great uncle on my dad's side, my grandmother's brother was a pastor at the local Church of Christ here. And my dad needed a job because he had my two brothers, me, and some foster kids. And they said, move here. And the state of West Virginia said, take the kids, because they were fosters, take them. So we moved here. And then at one point I lived out in North Carolina because my stepdad at the time, my sisters, I have a little sister. I have two older brothers. One passed away almost 4 years ago.
I'm sorry
It
to hear that.
was it was it was it was it was surprising but not unexpected. I'll get into that. And I have a little sister who's 11 years younger than me. The only good thing that come out of that time period, in my opinion. But most of my life, I lived in rural Arkansas, and then attempted college after I graduated, and then I was drifting around, working menial jobs that I was having no satisfaction from, and living at home. And a friend of mine, he asked me to move in with him because he needed a roommate, and I was like, okay. That was 2000, 2001, yeah, 2000. And then in August of 2001, my roommate, his name's John Dean, he suggested that I join the military because his brother, who I actually graduated with, who was one of my friends that did it about a year prior. And then I joined, and then I was like, yeah. I had to lose weight and clean up and stuff, but I ended up in the Navy for 12 years.
Whoa.
I was wanting to do a career, but that was cut short for a lot of circumstances. I was married at the time that I got separated, and I'll talk about traumatic. I'll tell you that. And then I was living in San Antonio, Texas, because I moved in with my ex's. We moved in with my ex's parents, and to take care of him and help take care of my ex-mother-in-law.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then
I can see the pain.
that was in 2014, and then in 2017, my best friend got diagnosed with prostate cancer, and my ex had just gotten her master's, was working 2 jobs. I had my disability. We were living with her parents, practically paying no bills. I was like, I'm going to go help my friend. And I never went back.
You did very good.
By the end of that year, we were divorced.
You did good?
Yeah. I'm lucky. I'm one of the few people in the world that can say someone getting cancer saved my life. And then that can be a heady responsibility, too. Like I say, he's my best friend, and I got to call him here in 17 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll remind you.
But yeah, I call it riding the wave. Life's a series of ups and downs. You got to know the highs in order to know the lows. You just got to know pain in order to know pleasure. And it's finding that balance. Yeah. And I grew up surrounded by the Church of Christ. My mom, we came here because of my my relative who was a minister. So that was deep in my family. Christianity. Everybody around here assumes you're a Christian if you live around here.
I get that.
Not the hardcore Pentecostal fundamentalist stuff, but there's no speaking in tongues and all that charismatic stuff at services. It's more sedate, contemplative, and stuff like that. It's very, 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 very sedate. Like even when I was toying around with different thinking about different religions. If I went to one of the rare services I'd go to, mainly along the Christian lines, if they were that, that was because that's what I grew up with, and stuff. And I'm a naturally quiet person. My mom told me that I hardly ever cried when I was a baby. So if I cried, there was something wrong, and stuff. So naturally timid, and it's just where's it going? So
you were talking about the Church of Christ. Yes.
Yeah, the religion
thing.
Okay, so I grew up around a lot of hellfire and brimstone. You know,
Yeah.
My first conscious memories are, in church and around my mom, revelations and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then it didn't help that at the time, especially in the late 70s, you had a lot of terrorist attacks going on.
Oh.
Things were changing. One of my earliest memories is of the Iran hostage crisis. And everybody around here was especially the adults. I remember fear. Yeah, there was just this this fog of fear because of the geopolitical situation. Even in sleepy rural Arkansas, that stuff seeps in, especially when you've got that apocalyptic style attitude, mentality. You tend to, if that's your worldview, you tend to read that stuff into it. I know people who were expecting Jesus to come and smite the enemies at any moment.
Oh.
Uh, you
Yeah.
know,
It was
then the
different
big year was
times.
2000 was a big year too. I knew people, it's the year 2000,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, and even as a teenage, as a young kid and a teenager, none of it didn't make sense, because the calendar is just a construct.
Yeah.
That's what they taught us in school. This was when, this is who made the calendar and all this other stuff, and yeah, and then
Yeah. The whole drama
my
with the New Year. And especially with the
yeah, that
2000,
was
yes, I remember that.
yeah.
I was a kid, but I remember that stuff.
Yeah. I remember the Y2K, but getting back to the late 70s, early 80s, uh, we just come off the 60s and the Vietnam War, and then the Middle East was blowing up with all, and even today, the Western world kind of revolves around that area of the globe. And people don't understand that that's been that way for
Yeah. I was
millennia.
just gonna say, people think it's
But
a novelty, but it's been like that since.
no,
Yeah.
and when I think about that situation, it reminds me of a line in Avengers 2: The Age of Ultron, when Hill is talking to Tony Stark, coming in after they finished their thing with Sokovia, and he asked about Sokovia, and he goes, "It's nowhere special on the everywhere special."
You know
You
all your
know,
movie lines. My brain goes blank most of the time. Remember
yeah,
movies?
yeah. Being a writer, if something sticks in my head, I learn, and being and I'm an armchair historian. I find especially ancient history fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been fascinated by the Greeks, the Mesopotamians, the
Oh, I love
Egyptians,
this Egyptians.
even ancient Middle Eastern, and the Eastern Med, the Med, Roman, all
Yeah.
that stuff. But especially because it's so influential on my own culture.
Yeah. I
The way my own worldview and how my basic worldview was steeped in that. So, and I've always been a history buff. I remember in the third grade, them put me into in my school, right? The kindergartners, that's the 5-year-olds that are turned 6, had their own room. And this was a 4-room elementary school. 4 rooms instead of 1 room. We have 4 rooms, right? The first and second graders, they all were taught by the same teacher. Third and fourth graders were all taught in fifth and sixth, and then the major 7th through 12th was all in one building.
mm-hmm.
And I remember in third grade, this was right before right before we moved to North Carolina. They put me in the 4th grade history class, I was doing history with 4th graders. And it's something I've always gravitated towards. And
Isn't
so
your mom a history teacher or something? I think I saw on one of your streams you had mentioned it.
my mother has her
Mm.
bachelor's in history, and she got 2 classes. She needed 2 classes to finish her master's. That's a whole story that for another day, right there. Don't give me.
I won't.
But yeah, don't get me wrong. I love my mother, but um,
It's so, but it would be okay if you didn't. I accept everybody. People that don't love their parents, people that
yeah,
love their parents. It's okay. It's okay.
yeah. So where was we going there? So
Your love for history.
back in that
Yes.
time, back in that time frame, back in the late 70s and early 80s, you know, I was, you know, a lot of fear. There was a lot of fear going around everywhere, you know, and you know, in some ways, today's slightly different because we're more cynical. We've become more cynical and jaded, you know. At least I know I have, but and
I think it's because we're used to seeing it so much. It's
yeah,
like
and that can be
it desensitizes
yeah, that
you.
can be that can be very very that's not a good thing in a lot of ways. You know, it's good to be tolerant, you know, of most things, but there's some things, and you get, you know, the global situation we got now. But to FYI people, it's always been that way.
Yeah.
You know, just, you know, with less people, there's less, you know, but it's always been that way. Where's one?
You were talking about the fear and it always being that way.
Well, yes, the fear. Yeah, the fear kind of, uh, you know, and kind of, and it was amplified by, you know, growing up. I saw a lot of, especially until I was about 13 years old, a lot of alcohol fueled violence. Okay, my mother, bless her, was not a very good picker
Was not.
when it came to relationships.
Oh, okay.
She didn't have a very good picker.
A picker, yes. I got it.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, including my dad, you know. And my father was her second husband. Her first husband, my brother's biological father. From what I only met him once, and I was 5 years old, and my mom tried to give him a hug, and I said no. So, for God's sakes, he gave up his children to my dad. My dad legally adopted them. Yeah, and, you know, I don't want anything. Yeah. So yeah. But to play devil's advocate, my mom was naive. She was sheltered by my grandparents, you know, and she was born in the late 40s, 1947. She's one of the early baby boomers, and the llama drops. And where she grew up was very conservative, you know, and in some ways very, you know, more than 10 years behind the times at the time. You know, my grandfather was a Marine in World War II. He did he was involved in all those bloody battles in the South Pacific, you know. So in a way, I'm lucky to be alive, because his orders got messed up one time, and he got switched around or something, and where he was supposed to go ended up getting wiped out. So you know, in a way, I'm, you know, if you look at the, you know, in have a how, you know, the thread of fate.
Yeah.
You know, well, I guess I'm supposed to be here, you know, because my grandfather was, you know, one pen stroke away from, you know, being a memory that, you know, I'd never have. But they grew in Appalachia mountains. My mom wasn't even allowed to be around the animals that they had when they were birthing.
Huh?
You know, you'd think being on, you know, having to you know, provide sustenance for yourself by you know, by husbandry, you know, animals and stuff like that. You'd want the kids to be involved in that, but no, they couldn't even be when they were sheltered. So my
But
mom, God bless her,
why was that though?
was
Why couldn't she be near the animals when they were birding? I think I have a wild guess,
well,
but
taboos against sex.
again because of the sex part. So you can't. They
Yes,
couldn't.
taboos against that. Yeah, taboos against that. And then my dad, my dad was uh, my dad born 1939, August 18th. He almost killed my grandmother in birth. My
Oh,
father
okay.
was my father was over 20 pounds when he was born,
Damn.
and my grandmother was a very petite
Oh
woman.
my god.
He almost killed her.
I can only imagine. I actually cannot imagine the pain.
So
Jeez.
yeah, yeah.
Tough, tough
So
lady though.
from what I understand, from what I understand, my grandpa didn't really like my dad very much, and
But because
he
of
was a
that?
big guy, big boy. Yeah, and he was huge. My dad. I never remember seeing my dad under 400 pounds,
So your grandpa didn't like your dad because your dad was huge?
and he almost killed
Oh.
his wife. Well, you know, and my dad was my grandma's favorite. So yeah. And then he was teased when he was growing up because kids are cruel.
Yeah.
Kids can be
Yes,
cruel
they can.
and all that stuff. And he didn't hook up with my mom until he was in his 30s. You know, and they met
That's
because of my aunt.
significant considering the time
Yeah,
period. Because like nowadays,
yeah,
okay, but
yes,
at the time, that was the
yeah,
time when
yes,
people already
yeah.
had the kids.
And my mom was his first wife. I don't even know if he had any experience before my mom or anything like that. I never really got into that with my dad. But my dad hung out with the kids because they lived in, you know, like Maryland would say, the hollows, you know, the hollows in the mountains. Um, and my dad hung out with set of kids that were, you know, he was in his 20s and they were in their teens. And I remember my uncle saying they'd hang out with my dad because he had a car, you know, and probably buy him alcohol and stuff like that, you know, and stuff. And that's how my mom and my dad met. My uncle, my uncle Pat was going out with my mom's sister Sue, and when my mom and her first husband split, they were like, "Oh, let's play matchmaker." Yeah. Honestly, you looking back, my parents had no business getting married to each other, but they did, you know, and which resulted in me. But my dad was a very, very troubled person, and he dealt with it with alcohol and having his physiological problems and everything. Uh, you know, it wasn't a good thing. You know, I remember going when growing up, and they'd be partying. All the adults would be partying at my other, you know, right down the road at one of my other uncle's houses. Uh, my dad would drink you know, beer after beer after beer, and he'd be like, he'd drink a 12 pack and then have to go pee. You know, eventually he did quit drinking, but the damage had already been done, and he died suddenly in 1997. Um, yeah, July 18th. I've got his dates tattooed on my arm. Um, and
Yeah, I was
you
noticing.
know, I'd been going through, you know, I was in my, you know, mid-20s and stuff. The last time he and I actually saw each other, we didn't part amicably. pause right quick.
Oh, your call. Back in a minute.
Okay, bye. Okay.
Okay.
Anyways,
Wait.
so
My screen disappeared. You give me just a second because you went off and back, so the camera like disappeared.
okay, so we're talking about my poor papa.
Yes. Wait, I'm trying to put you back.
Okay.
Hold on a second. I want to put you back correctly. Sorry, guys. You know, this is kind of disturbing for the stream, but this is what happens when we use OBS. If you know, you know. Oh, gosh. Okay, I'm gonna find you. I'm looking for... Let me just check here to make sure we are good. The perks of... Okay, we're back. No, we're not back. We are back.
We're not back.
We're not back. We're back. I think we're back. I think we are back. I think we're back. We are back. We are back.
Oh, okay.
We are back.
Yeah.
We are back. Okay, wait a minute.
Okay, before that
We're
interruption
back.
there.
We're back. Okay, we're back. Woo!
Okay, yeah, I was talking about my dad.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were.
Yeah.
You were talking about the dates.
So he was yeah, so when I was 20, I spent the summer out in West Virginia, and that was in between semesters of college, and I had a falling out with him, so we didn't part on a good terms. And in '97, he was actually going to come out here to visit because I'd made a few decisions, with my parents. It takes two to tango and stuff, and so I was just going to tell him flat out, and I didn't want to do it over the phone. And then he had a massive heart attack. I don't know if you remember the stuff in the '90s that was going around called Fin. You ever heard of it?
How is it called? Can you repeat, please?
Fin. Phinphin.
I don't.
It was a diet. It was a diet pill that was all the rage in the mid '90s that ended up being linked to heart attacks.
Oh wow!
And he was taking it.
Oh, that's kind of...
Yeah,
it's crazy that you mentioned that because we are entering a new era where people are starting to take these pills to get skinny.
I've
with,
seen Rebel Wilson
ozempic.
I've seen Rebel Wilson go from pitch perfect to okay, that's not her.
Yes.
But yeah, it was, I guess, the doctors or whatever. He'd had physiological troubles all his life. You know, he in the mid '80s he almost died because of fluid on his lungs and stuff.
Oh.
They pumped gallons of fluid off of him and stuff.
Whoa.
And and you know, he knew he was going to die young.
He knew?
Yeah, he knew. He knew he was going to die young. So my parents, they got divorced when I was about 4. A lot, and from what I remember, very little that I remember, and what I've heard, and what I've put together from clues over the years, it was not a good situation at all. My father, one of those, I guess, jealous types and stuff, very, very self-conscious and stuff like that. So, you know, you can do the math. And my mom, not experienced and naive and all that stuff. So they got, there was a blow up. I have this picture. I don't know how well you can see it. I don't know how well y'all can see it.
I think we can see it. I mean,
But
it's
you
not
see
super
it's-
perfect, but we can see the head.
See the big guy? See the big guy?
Oh, in the back with the white shirt up to the elbows.
Yep.
Yeah, that's your
Yep,
dad.
that's my dad.
Are you in? You were in the
That's my
photo.
dad. Yes,
Which
and
one are
right
you?
below him is my mom. right there, the big guy is my
Mm-hmm.
dad. Right below him is my mom, and she's holding me.
She is
Right?
holding you. Wait, the one pointing at the camera?
Yeah, I was actually had I was in a red and white striped t-shirt shirt.
Oh, it's
That
hard to
was
see
Christmas.
you. But, okay, I see it
But yeah,
now.
that was Christmas 1975. And what I'm holding at you is a Type 2 phaser from Star Trek.
Oh, it's you that's holding it. I thought it was her because
Yeah,
it blends the.
yeah, me and my brother, and you can see here, and you can see, uh,
Can you put it
right
more to?
there,
Can you put it more to the right? No, to the left. Sorry. Yes, yes, yes. Perfect. Okay, I can see it now.
right there's me, right there's me,
Mm-hmm.
right there's my mom, and then that's my dad. That's my brother Ray.
Mm-hmm.
That's my brother Billy. That's my
More to
foster
the
brother.
left. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
That was one of my foster brothers. His name was Pat. My foster sister, her name was Paula, and my foster brother Richard.
Whoa, that's a lot of
That's a
foster
lot of people. Yeah, yeah.
siblings.
And then this guy's name was Cecil. He was a friend of the family. But that was the last Christmas my family was together.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I
By
mean,
the
it
end
was
of
amazing for your dad to adopt them and stuff. Like it
yeah,
shows a lot
yeah.
of.
My dad always had a soft spot for kids.
Oh.
After him and my mom split up, he actually hooked up with someone that he went to kindergarten with. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My stepmother Mary had a bunch of kids, and he actually raised her two youngest basically as his own, and always had foster kids and stuff like that, and he had a big heart, Uh,
Was he also an artist or writer or?
no, no.
Because I mean, it seems like he was like a sensitive
Yeah,
dude. I mean,
yeah. I get my talent from my grandmother on my mom's side.
oh,
Yeah, yeah. She was a writer. She never published or anything, and I remember reading some of her stuff after she passed. She died in the early 90s. Her and my grandpa, the Marine, they passed within a week of each other.
oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And when she died, my mom brought back some of her stuff, and I remember reading it. I was like, "This is good." I wish I had it, but I don't have it. I don't know where
oh, you
any
don't
of her
have it
stuff is.
anymore.
No, it's that stuff back in back. I don't have a lot of stuff that I wrote in my 20s. Um, and people not knowing what it is, you got moved, and throwing it away. I know I had stuff stored here when I was gone in the Navy, and it's disappeared.
Oh,
People don't care about other people's stuff most of the time, and
I'm sorry about that.
when well, it happens.
Yeah.
It's nothing to be. There's nothing to lose sleep over. It's something to lose. And I remember, I've actually recovered some. Like, I sent you the file.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. There's some stuff in there from a long time ago. And some
You
stuff I remembered.
remembered.
And yes, like the very first one, the day she stood at the edge of the sea. It's a real simple rhyme that I remembered it like by heart right after I finished writing it, and that was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I still remember
okay,
by
getting back
heart the first poem I wrote, so I get it.
yeah. So well, that leads me back into my mom, because I remember when we were out in North Carolina, I was in. It was the end of my third grade year, then fourth, fifth, and sixth grade was when I was out there. My mom was married to my sister's biological father, another alcoholic.
Yeah, not a great
Yeah,
picker.
he almost killed my mom twice.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, the second time I was there for both of them, and the second time I don't remember.
So you saw he really did it like a murder attempt?
almost beat her to death. If some of his army, he was in the army.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, he was in the army. Um, and younger than my mom, inexperienced, and stuff like that. And and great guy when he was sober.
Right.
He liked the whiskey. Ed ended up killing. He died this past March in from colorectal cancer.
Shit.
And yeah, and one of the causes, and the only good thing, actually, the only real good thing to come out of that time period was my sister. So
Jeez, huh?
like I was telling you, up to my year I was 13. Like I said, I saw a lot of alcohol-fueled violence. None of it was, visited upon me. But there was that.
Yeah,
fear.
when we witness things, I mean, it's also hard.
Yeah, and back then we didn't know what we know now. And I helped my ex-wife get her degree in psychology and a master's in social work, so I know a little bit about that. I absorbed a lot of it from osmosis, just by helping her write papers and all this other stuff. So I know a little bit about that we know a lot more about childhood development now than we did when I was young, and considering where my parents were from and where I grew up, again, 10, 15 years behind the times.
Yeah.
And it was a good thing, and it was a good thing and a bad thing in a way, because I call my generation out here the last of the free range children.
The free range
Right?
children.
The last of the free range children. I grew up in the country. We could go out, and up until relatively recently, we kept our doors unlocked. I don't know, 90s, that's when we started.
Oh yeah, typical. That's typical village stuff.
Thing, and I didn't have my mom. I had 3 other mothers, all from the same family, the Cox family, right? I was basically adopted by the Cox clan around here, and they had permission to discipline me if they saw fit. Of course, I was always the good guy. My friends were always the ones causing the trouble. I was just along for the ride, so they never really had to do that. But my mom, single most of the time, worked her butt off to provide for us. So latchkey kid in a way, but that was common way back then. Even it's probably still common now, but the nuclear family, as as most people would think of it, the dad being the breadwinner, the mom at home raising the kids, June, Leave It to Beaver Cleaver from the 1950s, with that was basically what people aspired to, but it was gone, around that time. Like I said, there's a lot of social change and all that stuff, and so I grew up dysfunctional family. You can check the boxes on the on the little list of issues that come from that. Yep, check the box, check the box, check the box, check the box. It's textbook, to quote Fisher Stevens in from Friends. I don't know if you've ever watched Friends.
I have.
The part, the one where the Phoebe dates the psychiatrist.
Oh gosh, I
It was in the first season.
Whew, you're trying to recruit a lot of old memories here. I don't remember that much of details, but I think I do remember something about that episode. Yeah.
Fisher Stevens was in it. He was playing a psychiatrist, and he was talking about Chandler was talking about his issues. Chandler was one of the characters I identified with in Friends.
Yeah.
Matthew Perry passed.
Yeah.
Very tragic.
Chandler was great.
But
Okay.
But yeah, he said something about his thing, and he goes, "Yes, it's textbook." So yes, textbook, and you know that's a way for, you know, I think that's, you know, part of the gallows humor coping mechanism when it comes to that stuff, you know, because you know not to you know crap, not where I was going.
You were talking about the gallows humor in the textbook.
Gallows, yeah, gallows humors helped me out to, you know, everybody, you know, that's a coping mechanism for a lot of trauma, you know, trauma survivors, and you know, I've said more often than not, you know, I even put it in writing in this, you know, in my the introduction I did to this about, I guess you could call it trauma comparing. Is that a thing, comparing, you know, people's stuff? You know, trauma is trauma.
Yeah.
But is it on a spectrum? You know, is some people's worse than others?
Yeah, but it's the special thing with trauma is that it's so hard to, like, we can't really compare, and we shouldn't compare because everybody experiences differently. Like, I can go through the same things you went through and feel totally, completely different about it, and to the worst or to the more indifferent. It's so
it just depends, and that's the nature versus nurture thing. You know, I'm a lot like my dad. My dad was I think he was a very reserved. He's naturally reserved, timid, you know, all that stuff. And I am too. You know, for God's sakes, my mom told me I never cried just to cry. So that shows my nature, my genetic predisposition.
Yeah, your introversion.
And
to keep to yourself as well.
And I am, I'm a single guy right now, and in some ways I'm fine with it, but in other ways it's very lonely, you know, and you know, I don't mind being alone. I just hate being lonely.
Yeah. It's good to be alone sometimes, but being lonely. And then there's the opposite, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I've had relationships where I felt more lonely in those relationships than I did often when I was just alone.
My 10-year disastrous marriage, yes. You know,
because when you're with someone and you have that pressure of like the obvious pressure of you want to feel seen because you're with someone, but then the person doesn't see you and you're like, oh, do I have a problem, or is just, am I actually really lonely, or, you know, I get that.
Well, with my ex-wife, I was in a cult of one. You know how some people are black holes?
Some people are?
Black holes.
Yes.
Vortex.
Yes.
Energy vortex.
I've known a lot of those, yes.
my ex-wife.
Oh, they suck you dry.
I don't know if she'll ever see this. I don't care.
Oh,
I'm still friends. I'm still friends with my ex-sister-in-law. I actually like my ex-sister-in-law. But my ex-wife, I didn't find this out till later. I laugh because I don't want to cry about it. I met her when I was 35. Yeah, 35. I met her through eHarmony.
Oh.
Don't believe the commercials.
So it's not good.
No.
Gosh.
No, I don't like I've tried the online dating stuff and I got bit by it.
It's a trap. Sometimes it goes good, sometimes it doesn't.
Oh yeah, great for those that it worked for, but for me, I'd rather. I was telling Doug this.
Yes.
Doug Kramer.
Yes.
Back this summer, I actually got to interact with him on one of the chat-a-thons we did, and we were, it started out by talking about online dating, and I said the same thing, it's a lie, and I told him I'd rather actually get out there and meet someone, and that's kind of hard for me to do right now. As an introvert, it's very hard. and living 25 minutes away from civilization,
Yeah, I get it.
and stuff. And there for a while I was without a vehicle just recently, you know,
Yeah.
and stuff. So yeah, doing
Nowadays
that,
it's
and I
hard.
didn't have a very
Nowadays it's really hard.
yeah, and I didn't have a very good experience with relationships growing up either. First of all, I didn't see stable relationships,
Can
you
relate.
know, and yeah, and I did not see them. And I, you got to keep in mind, I graduated with 13 people, including myself, from kindergarten through 12th grade. Was probably no more than 150 students. That's giving
Yeah, I can
a lot.
imagine.
That
I grew up a
so
little bit in a village, and I know
so
like there's not a lot of people.
yeah so I didn't have a dating pool. I didn't even have a dewdrop. None of the girls were interested in me, and being an outsider, natural introvert, yada yada yada. Check the boxes. You know. So my experience with relationships in my 20s was not good. I try to get to know women, and not and this has been my experience. Try to get to know a person, because no matter what you want out of it, there's a
Yeah.
person there.
And a lot of people, they don't want to know the person. They want to project what they want in
Yeah,
someone in that
and
person.
and I was the type of guy that I get to know a woman, and I get put in the friend zone. There are continents named after me in the friend zone. There are monuments.
Look, I was also put in the friend zone very often when I was
I don't. Whoever put you in the friend zone is stupid. No,
That's everybody's stupid.
no.
But I think the friend zone is a myth. I mean, no. I think it's possible to get out of the friend zone.
No, not in my experience. Like one of my best friends. I'm actually having lunch with her on Thursday. Yeah, she put me in the friend zone real quick, but our relationship was around poetry and stuff. That's how we bonded and everything. And I kind of knew that there was no way in hell, so I wouldn't even try.
So that's what you manifested
So,
for
so
yourself. You need to believe in yourself more.
yeah, and she flat out. This was funny. We would hang out and everything, and I went and we went and went and partied and so for a weekend, and I stayed at her house, and she lived with her mother, and she said her mother was like, "Well, are you going to sleep with him?" And I saw when she said that she told her mother no, that shudder.
Oh, come on.
No, I remember it vividly. I was looking right at her, shudder. She thought of me as a brother. And yeah, so I knew it was not worth the time or the anguish that it would, and it was that platonic bonding that we had over poetry.
That's beautiful. Sometimes
And
those friendships
she's
are
one of
more
my best friends.
intimate than a relationship.
Yeah, it can be, and stuff, and it can be frustrating too. It can be frustrating because back in the back of your mind, that's still that you made this choice, but you think, what the fuck's wrong with me?
I know that question to myself very well. That's the same thing.
Oh, I ask myself that question. Something will be, what the hell's wrong with you, Brian? Why are you thinking that crap?
Can relate.
So yeah. So yeah, my trauma is like most people's, varied. I was teased a lot as a kid, being an introvert, I didn't take it well.
Same bullying.
And I remember wanting to lash out. Kind of like the Water Boy. Adam Sandler in the Water Boy. But controlling myself, because one of the things that I took from my religious upbringing was the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Everybody should, I want everybody to get along. There ain't no reason why can't we all just get along.
That reminds me of the movie Mean Girls. She also says that she just wants. You never seen it? Oh my god, it's so funny how she's like, there's this girl. It's like in one of the scenes, one random girl, like the teacher is trying to make everybody get along because there was like a huge thing in the high school, and there's this girl. She shows up, like she gets on the stage, and she's like, I just want everybody to get along and eat some cakes and rainbows, and the teacher was like, what the hell? Like, even the teacher's like, what the hell? And then this guy's like, she doesn't even go here. Like, she doesn't even go to high school. She's just there. Like, why can't everybody just get along?
Yeah. So that's the goal. The golden rule. Don't be an asshole. Just be nice. And I'm a naturally nice guy.
People have difficulty with that simple rule.
Yeah, and stuff. Again, lost train of thought.
You were saying about the friend zone and people being assholes. And the bullying.
Yeah, people. Yeah, and I was bullied as a kid. People get a reaction out of it.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. People get the reaction; they love it, and that's. I was bullied, but for the same reason, for being reactive.
Yeah, and in a way I could see it as that, that little kid lashing out, and stuff. I had an unfortunate nickname, and I thought, how everybody in SPTV land calls me poet, I personally don't like nicknames, which is kind of ironic because everybody in my dad's side of my family.
Thank you.
All of my dad's siblings, including him, all went by nicknames. My dad's nickname was Buck, right? And I get one that I don't like, but I got one now that I do like, because that's what I am. I'm a poet, and poetry and talking about poetry and trauma. It's art in itself. It can be a tool. I was I lived a lot in my head as a kid, which is understandable. Another, again, check the box. And having a having a natural talent for writing and everything, I would not really write it down, but I would think up scenarios in my head and live in my own little fantasy land and stuff like that. I was Brandon and Airhead.
Can relate.
And stuff like that. And it didn't help that this living, it didn't, like, my school system didn't have the best administration at the time, and I wasn't prepared for college. I wasn't prepared for life in a lot of ways living out here. Again, it's a double-edged sword. I got to be innocent of a lot of things in my teenage years. I didn't have to experience a lot of things, again, we were free-range kids. But, I didn't get the advanced courses, especially in my, my early teens that would have benefited me, Take the good with the bad. If I had to do it over again, I'd probably do the same thing, But what ifs and shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
Oh yeah, they're too dangerous. I don't like playing the what if game. It's very dangerous.
and it's all a part of the I've been the to deal with the religious trauma, hellfire and brimstone, for God's sakes, going to church and being scared. And thank God my mom didn't force it down
Oh,
my
I hated
throat.
going to church. I had
You
to
know,
go, and I hated it so much.
well, it was. I remember going regularly. There for a while, especially after my parents split, and then his being allowed to decide when I was like 7 or 8,
That's
and
great.
I knew something. Yeah, when I remember when I was 5, not something wasn't right. Something didn't feel right about Santa Claus, and something didn't feel right about the crap what I was being told, at church.
Yeah.
And then going to school and learning about like the Greek gods.
Then we just have so many questions, right?
Yeah, like okay, these are myths, but some dude some dude putting a pair of every
Yeah.
animal onto a boat after a global deluge.
That's not a myth. I never saw the ones
You
I
know,
learned in school as actual myths. I would always think maybe there's some truth in those. Maybe since they're older, maybe they're the actual foundation of the real thing.
well, it depends on how you define the word myth too. You know, Star Wars is a myth. It's a
Yeah.
myth. It shows universal
Yeah.
truths. The Greek gods, they're a myth, but they show truths. They're more human. They're more human than human sometimes. And stuff. So I actually didn't learn that until I was in college. The definition of myth that I thought was false story.
That's what they teach us when you're
You know,
in small school.
yeah, small schools and stuff, but it was okay. God creating the earth in 6 days in the year 4000 and something was just fine. But I'm learning in science class that they know we evolved from lower life forms, and stuff. So I remember actually in 10th grade biology, me telling my science teacher, okay, how people are out here, and we were coming up onto the section with evolution, and some people might not like it, because I had some religious, some of my fellow classmates were really religious. Their parents were religious. So she prefaced it and she brought my name up. She goes, like Bryan said, this is a theory.
I mean, technically all of it is a theory. Even evolution is a theory. But yeah, I mean, I think it's
so the religious trauma and questioning stuff. So these days I deal with I'm more of I try to walk the middle way. That's what I call it.
yeah.
I don't say I'm a Buddhist, but a lot of the Eastern philosophies and stuff that I've been learning, especially over the last 5-6 years, have they feel right to me, and it's like they touch something in here that seems right. Because I believe from energy we came, to energy we will go.
Yeah.
Like the electrical activity in your brain. That's what keeps that's how I imagine the soul. If our soul is embodied in the electrical activity in our body, and when we pass, that dissipates back into the universe. Whatever some people might think it's heaven with the dude on the throne with Jesus on his left side, or whatever whatever myth or whatever thing illustrates that for you. Fine, that might be where you go.
I think our brains are like too stupid to see like what other dimensions are out there. But I do think that like
Mm-hmm.
I think there is something out there, but I don't think it's
Mm-hmm.
anything that
Yeah.
people can actually imagine. I think we can feel it. I
Well,
think we can um idealize it, but I think only after going to the other side will we actually know and see and feel those things.
yeah, and it's something happened that makes me, you know, back in 2004, one of the only stable father figures I ever had in my life. His name was Pharaoh Cox, part of the Cox clan. He was a Vietnam vet. I had immense respect for the man and fear. You know, he dealt with his PTSD with alcohol.
Mm.
So, you know, when he was drinking, he could be one of those just happy-go-lucky, just fine, but he could snap. So we were careful around him. At least I was. Um, he passed in November of 2004.
Hmm.
And the day he passed, and I did a video on this on one of my on a video on my channel. The day he passed, I was in Yorktown at the Naval Weapons Station. I was on the USS Thomas S. Gates, and we were doing a ammo onload offload evolutions, right? And it was after working hours. I'd knocked off and went to one of my workspaces, in one of the workspaces that my division had control over. We had a treadmill, and I did some time on the treadmill, and I walked out onto the weather decks up on one of the higher levels. The Thomas S. Gates is a guided missile cruiser. That's an Aegis guided missile cruiser. That's the type of vessel that I was on, because I was an Aegis fire controlman working on weapon systems. So I went out, and this was it was about 4:20, 4:25 or so, and I got this urge to call my friend Rufus. Rufus is a guy I grew up with as one of Pharaoh's sons, and no, you disappeared there. Okay, so I got this urge to call him, and I was like, wait a minute, he's at work, because Arkansas is an hour behind, so it was 3:30 here, and that's when he got off work. This feeling just said, call Rufus. So I called. No one answered. Call Rufus, damn it. Call again. His sister Vicky answered and told me that earlier that day Pharaoh had passed. There is something there. So that's one of the few spiritual things I can actually consciously tell you that I've experienced in my life. So that does make me believe, believe there is something out there, but we don't know exactly what it is. And that can be traumatic too. That's why we come up with all kinds of scenarios, Again, going back to a religious trauma I experienced, it's really hard, living in fear.
Oh yeah.
Dune.
Have
you seen the
have.
movie? Fear is the mind killer.
Fear is the mind killer.
Yeah. So yeah, I try to keep that in mind. Yeah, I shall not fear. Fear is the mind killer. That mantra I try. I think I had it memorized at one point. So that and living with that can be damaging.
Mind killer. Even being afraid due to not knowing can be a complete mind killer.
And oh my God, being one of those, I hate not knowing.
Oh yeah, God, yeah, same. As a kid, I would just ask questions, and like people would go to church, and I would ask questions, and people would be like, "Why are you asking that?" I'm like, "But why? Where did it come from? But why? Why this? Why not that?" And people would have no answer, and would just be like, "You're just weird," and I'd be like, "I'm weird for asking questions. Yeah. You're weird for believing a book."
Oh, and also, I would absorb all this stuff. Like when I lived out in North Carolina, one of my best friends was PBS. I'd come home from school, I'd watch cartoons, and then I'd watch PBS. And do my homework and stuff like that. And so I learned a lot. I was, and I've always fascinated by astronomy, history, so I learned a lot and I knew a lot. And I came back here, and I would spout something off, and at one point people thought I was just know-it-all smartass. But I knew, and I'd be the first to, if I don't know and and can prove, then tell me, and I will change my worldview.
Right. Yeah.
And every day you need to learn something new, like or try to. So we're far afield from poetry here.
Oh, so what? We're talking about trauma. We're talking about all of that. I mean, it's what makes us. It makes us
art.
Us writers, right?
And art and ever since you asked me about this, I was like, I asked me to do this. I was like, okay, thinking, does my trauma inform my art? Yes, in a way. Dealing with relationships, like in here. One of these poems in here I wrote about the first woman I ever fell in love with.
Oh, look, this is my food machine for my cats that's calling. It's a robot machine, so it has my voice and it
Yeah.
Oh god, I already had one here waiting for the food. Like, which one is it? Oh, it's Nicolau, my baby kitty. We were talking.
He's got half of a mustache.
He does. He's so cute. He's my baby. We were talking about the other side and beyond and faith. These creatures are what make me believe. Honestly, they're so magical. They tell me everything I need to know about anything.
Yeah, because cats know they are dogs.
Yeah, I mean cats, just animals in general. I think. I think they know. They probably know all the answers, and they're just laughing at us, thinking why we were worried about bullshit.
I call my dogs. I have 3 dogs. They're locked in the bedroom because they pick inconvenient times to want to go outside. So I'll say in the chat I lose an argument with my dogs. It's they're like, Daddy, I gotta go. So I call them my therapists.
Oh yeah. Oh look, that's my other therapist.
Because I bitch, whine, moan, and complain, and they look at me like I'm stupid. They are wise.
They are wise. Dogs, cats, any animal, especially the fluffy ones. They're very wise. So you were gonna read a poem, the poem of the first woman you fell in love with.
And the thing is, and this tells you about my picker. She was married.
Oh, you like the impossible ones. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we worked together, right? I got a job. A friend of mine got me a job, and me and this woman worked together, and one of those instant connections and stuff like that. And I kind of became, I wouldn't call obsessed.
Infatuated.
It was just and very infatuated. And I never had, never really had a woman treat me like that before, And I wrote this before, we had our little thing, and luckily, I burned my luck out in so many different ways. It's pathetic, because coming from especially back in the 90s, Conway was a third of the size that it is now. And that's the nearest big town, big city to me. And everybody knows everybody. And I guarantee, and there were rumors running rampant about us in the factory. None of them were true until they were true. And people people that knew people that worked at the place the dude worked. I found out later, after everything had run its course, that at one point he was looking for me. So yeah. And I tried to express my frustrations and you know, and it goes. I hate, oh how I hate the food that's on my plate, and oh how I wish for another dish that I can contemplate. You know, straight. You know, it's all old and grown cold and will soon be sprouting mold, ashes. That's what it tastes like there are ashes on my plate. And if I eat it too fast, the flavor won't last and it'll come back in one huge blast. Yeah. Yeah, I had a thing for her. Bad thing for her. Uh, and he goes, I hate the food on my plate, the dish there to be consumed. Bitter to the taste, oh, how bitter the taste. And I wish, oh, I wish for a sweeter tasting dish, sweeter to the palate, and not as foul as that thing that I hate, which is on my plate, that is there to be eaten.
I love how you read your poems.
Just grin and bear it, she said, and my face turned red. Yes, that's what you should do. I would if I were you. Eat what was gave you. Be grateful you have anything to eat at all. You know, it's that situation, you know. I'm sitting there and I'm working with her and we're having fun and I'm going, oh my God, why me? Yeah. By the way, this one's called Eyes I Dare Not Meet in Dreams. Should have prefaced it with that. It goes, yes, but I just can't stand what came from your hand. And I know you can see, you can really understand what it's like out there for me, out there in the world before me. She sang a serenade then. I think it was about the color blue. Blue is my favorite color. Spread me out on the table, my dear. Spread it out on the table. I'll eat when and if I am able, but I won't like it. I won't like it at all. No, not at all. But you don't like a situation like that, you know? It's not good for anybody in the end. Least of all the
But it
participants.
makes for good writing.
It does make for good writing. So where was I? She continued her song. It was now about red, the color of my face, my least favorite color. I have to eat it one bite at a time before it turns to ashes in my mouth and makes me wish for another dish, one that tastes a little sweeter and is just a little bit neater around the edges. Always looking out, why? Something else come along. Please save me from this, save me from myself. Her color was green now, the color of the green of my soul. Envious, green with envy. She sang a little while longer. Now that's a good boy, she said. Eat it. Each bite you take makes you a little bit stronger, a little more able to face tomorrow. And as we all know, tomorrow doesn't necessarily have to get here. It's today. It's always today. Her color was black now, black as was her eyes. She sang about black, the color in her eyes, and we danced a waltz, never touching, and she sang, oh, how I began to despise that black passion, that black passionate look that was in her eyes, black as the witching hour on a cold and dark winter's night. She looked at me, and I sat there and ate. I sat there and slowly ate the dish that she placed on my plate, placing it there before me, slowly, gently, lovingly, placing it there before me on the table. This is what you can't have, she said. What you always think you can't have, but it's ain't always true. It's all up to you, you soda pop fizz of a man. I actually like that image.
Soda pop fizz of a man.
Yep. Clever. Now her song was about white. Light before it slips into a prism, before it splits into its component parts. We danced all night, tap danced around the issue, pranced up and down the aisle that led to the dance floor. I sat there and spoonful by after spoonful ate. Still, she put it out there. She put it there for me to look at, to contemplate. Only you can make it sweet, she said, and then you can eat and it will be sweeter, yet still bitter to the taste. She continued to sing about the rainbow. The Cheshire Cat moon smiled down on me. It smiled down on me at dusk and at dawn. She laid on the table my sacrifice. Wake up, my proof rock, wake up, she said. The alarm clock is warning. It's 5:30 in the morning. Your dream is over till the sun goes down again. Wake up, proof rock, wake up.
Damn. That is
Yeah, I had that
passionate.
for. Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah,
Oh,
and,
there's someone else that loved it and made sure to come here on the table to let you know. Emilia, my little kitty, Emilia. Ooh.
Yes. So yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
and,
my baby, I'm
heartbreak
sorry.
sucks. I've experienced it a couple times in my life, and it's hard. No one wants to get their heart broke. But I
It
was also a
hurts so
fool.
much when the heart breaks. Jeez.
Mhm. But looking back on it, would I have done the same thing again? Of course.
Right?
Of course. And you I was lucky that nothing worse happened. She didn't get pregnant. So that was a good thing. And stuff. It was and so, but yes, it was a traumatic thing to go through. And yeah, that was the only real thing I wrote about her. But like my last girlfriend, I wrote a lot of stuff about her. But I never wrote anything about, anything positive about my ex-wife. I do have something in here. It was
Oh, gosh.
when I was in San Antonio.
She's trying to turn off the computer.
More
No,
kitties.
it's just two. There's
More-
just two, but she's trying to sit on the keyboard, and that's never going to go right. Hey, that's my little baby. It's Emilia.
No, in the little paragraph you sent me, you was talking about writer's block.
Yes, writer's block.
I actually suffered a long writer's block, almost about a decade.
Can relate.
more than
I
that.
suffered a writer's block for like 7 years.
I stopped writing regularly right around the time I joined the Navy. And practically the entire time I was in the Navy, I did not write that much. And everything I wrote, I thought was bad. So it's just like, if it's going to be bad, why the hell bother,
But sometimes we have to unlock that writer's block. We have to write it even if we're hating it, because then it kind of flows other stuff.
Yeah. So in my early 40s, while I was still in the Navy, I actually took some creative writing classes to help, and that actually helped. So it started trickling back in, and then when I was in San Antonio, I didn't like my situation, so I would hang out in the backyard. With the dogs, and I'd write. And so I started writing actually in earnest back again, semi-regularly, being more productive, basically about a decade ago. A little bit after, like my last year or so in the Navy and stuff. And I would use it for, partially for journaling, I guess you can say. And I got one in here. It's called Stuck on Potranco Road, San Antonio, Texas. my ex-in-laws live off of Petrenko Road on this Dugas Drive, which and it goes. There's gridlock going on, my friend. My thoughts are jumbled up against themselves. A rush hour's traffic jam that's been running on fumes. There's no service stations in my immediate future, at least none that I can find on any map. There's bumper to bumper now, my friend. My brain's got clogged up, cast off incomplete thoughts of ideas scattered and strewn across the pavement. Grasped at images, shadows and flickers, gears grinding, foot slipping off the clutch. There's an urgent need for a transmission overhaul. That basically encapsulates my feelings at the time. I was stuck. I had a life. I had a life, so to speak, sort of one. I had plenty of spending money in my pocket, so I didn't have to worry about that. Had a roof over my head, food to eat, the basic necessities you needed, but I was very, very, very unhappy. Very, very isolated. Isolated from my family. My mom and my sister were basically hands off when my ex-wife came into the picture. And it's funny, my mom, God bless her, she pegged my ex-wife from just looking at a picture of her.
She what?
She pegged my ex-wife by just seeing a picture of her. By that time, it was already too late. I'd already been married. Already gotten married.
Oh gosh, it's these black holes.
Yes.
They suck the person
Yes,
in without you even realizing.
Yeah, so the unfortunately, my ex had potential there. There's good in everybody, and I had to keep that in mind when I was with her. Because when you're with someone a lot, you get to know them. Because to quote Elliot, we all put on a face to meet the faces that we meet. And she's been described by some as a narcissist, and I can see why, because her favorite shirt had Tweety Bird on it with a smug look on his face saying it's all about me.
That's
That's
very telling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we would always we would meet people. They'd be in our lives a little bit, and then they'd disappear. No one stuck around, and the whole it was her, and and being married and in the military, it can it can access you to a whole social realm that you otherwise wouldn't have.
I can hear you. I'm just telling my cat to stop doing mischievous stuff. She's being a bit wild. Emilia, stop. Behave. Why are you trying to be crazy? Huh?
Because your attention's somewhere
She wants
else.
Cuddles.
My dogs do it.
Hey,
Yeah.
okay. Let's get some cuddles. You want cuddles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we because going being married in the military, like I said, it could open you up to a different social realm than just being single. And we tried that, and people would be like, peace out. Your wife's a bitch.
Did they literally tell you that?
Yes, a couple of people did.
Oh God.
Your wife's a bitch.
Well,
Yeah.
it was validating though once you finally left her. At least people believed you when you were like, no.
Oh, I look back and I remember I've got pages of red flags I ignored.
But
Pages.
But it's the way they suck us in. We don't really realize it until we realize it. Oh God, I don't know what happened to you. You got really small.
And before when I realized it was too late. And I made a commitment, you know, and that was that. And then I felt trapped. And that poem kind of expresses that. I felt really, really trapped. And then, thank goodness, my friend got cancer. you know what? And that just tells you, the hold that she had, on me, and the hold she has on her family. It's all, everything revolves around her. For God's sakes, like my ex brother-in-law's brother would walk on pins and needles around her, afraid to piss her off. And we get in knocked down, drag out fights, not physical, but oh God, she loved to argue, and she could turn your arguments against
They
you.
love the drama. These people, they absolutely love the drama.
Yeah. And the only time it ever came to blows was actually she hit me.
She hit you?
Yeah. This was several months before I ended up leaving. She'd just come home from work. Our niece had moved in. She's having trouble. She'd moved in with us. Moved in there. Excuse me. And my niece is she is in her early 20s, very attractive young lady. My ex-wife isn't. So jealousy, blah 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 blah. And when I guess she'd had a bad day at work. She's a social worker. She'd gotten a job as a social worker and everything, and came in and just immediately started off on my niece. Well, my father-in-law jumped in, and so did I. and then she was saying that our niece was being a bitch, and I was like, well, look in the mirror.
What the hell? Oh my God, I'm so sorry you went through that.
And well, she tried it again, and I blocked her. In the military, you do learn some basic, like I was in the Navy. I was not in any combat role per se, so I didn't learn how to shoot, hand-to-hand combat or anything, but I did do basic security, right? I was qualified with a gun, basic takedown moves and blocks and all that stuff. And when I saw her projecting the second one, it was just automatic boom, So, and that surprised her. But only time it ever came to blows. And believe me, there were times when I wanted to bash her baby face in.
At that point, it would technically be self-defense, but unfortunately, that's not how the law would see it.
No. I knew for a fact. I told my ex-sister-in-law about it, and she asked me why I didn't bash her face, and I was like,
of course,
I'd be in jail. So yeah, and I saw a lot of that crap when I was growing up. So I made a vow early on to never do anything like that. It was just, and believe me, it's there. But it's all about our actions, how we deal with things, and and the tools we use. And I'm a writer. I know words. Words are cheap. Behavior that is telling.
Words are cheap, but they can hurt, like aggression can, and sometimes it can be our weapon for defense as well.
And so yes, my writing has, my writing's a part of me. I just, with any self-respecting artist, when you do something, whether you're a sculptor, painter, musician, you put yourself.
You do.
And it's very hard. It can, and I've gotten some stuff published in the last year, but most of the time I get rejected. and and rejection's a
Yeah,
bitch.
I've given up on getting published by others because I studied to be an editor, to work at a publishing house, and when I realized, like, when they started teaching us the things that we have to do as people, like, publishing others, uh, like,
Yeah.
it's not about talent. It's just a very dirty world, and I don't want part in it.
Hmm.
So I just self-publish my stuff, and
That's
yeah.
why I went to Amazon myself. I did find I've gotten some things published, like I got four poems published this past year, which was four more than I'd gotten published in the previous 30. Of course, I didn't really. I think between the time I got my last poem published in my early 20s and this past year, I think I'd only tried once or twice. And a lot of it is finding where your particular style actually fits. And my particular style, I use a lot. As you can see, I use a lot of rhyme. you know, and stuff. And sometimes, there is an elitist strain in a lot of publications. Like in my experience, some publications won't touch it unless you have an MFA after your name. That's a Master's of Fine Arts.
I really don't want to take part. I really don't take part in it because at the end of the day, they're gonna sell the book. They're not gonna give you any percentage of it. Even if you do get published, like your own book, you're only gonna get a really small percentage of any sale, which is about like 2% for published authors that don't self-publish. And I think it's like, you know.
Well, a lot of it with poetry is a lot of contests. I've done a couple contests.
Like, how can you judge
and,
art? Of course
the,
not.
the,
It's so subjective, and it kills your self-esteem for no reason.
Yeah, but there is there is a base. There is a baseline you can judge it by. But again, subjective. But like where the 3 of the 4 poems I got published this past year were in one publication, Westward Quarterly. Their tagline is the magazine of family-friendly reading. and it's cool, and actually I some of the stuff that is in there is actually pretty damn good, and so in a way it's very validating because the first one I got published this past year is called The Bridge. It's about politics. And when I told my friend Michelle the poet, about it, she said, yes, it's good to be the least among the best than the first among the worst. So yeah, this publication liked my stuff. So I've gotten a couple more published. So it is validating. So yeah, and honestly, there's no harm in trying.
Yeah. Personally, I'm just more of a self-published person because I've seen how dirty that world is. Also, nowadays we don't even know if people's writing is like original work or not. So like, I'd rather just do my indie style stuff, have my little book that.
Well, that's and then this thing here. Well, this thing here. That's why
I brought mine to show you as well. I think no one has ever seen it like in the thing. Like that's my real name. So, but that's my book that I self-published.
Well, that's a lot thicker than mine.
Yeah, basically, these are all poems I wrote during the lockdown. So this was like it was like only 2020. All of this.
You were productive.
I mean, I was depressed.
Well, yeah, that can that can help you out. Like, This one, for example, my all about Scientology, my haikus and
Yes. Oh my
haikus and
gosh. Wait
lyrics.
a second.
You know,
OBS disappeared you again. Hold on. It was funny because you lifted up the book and it just. What the hell? Oh my gosh. Where are you? Where are you? You're still not showing up on the screen. Wait, guest property. Why is it doing this? This is kind of crazy. Okay, it's being a little slow, but I'm gonna get you back here. Right now they can't hear you either. So hold on. It's failing me. Guys, don't worry. Bryan is okay. He just disappeared for a second, but it's not his fault. He didn't do it on purpose. What the hell? The stream. Okay.
technical difficulties.
I think we are back, guys. So don't worry. We're back, and now you can show us your book.
Okay, you got this one. Dealing with trauma again. A way to deal with trauma is humor.
It is.
And this discovering SPTV, especially this last year's, really, really helped me out. I started watching Aaron back during the first Danny Masterson trial back in November 2022. So, I remember it before it was even, what it is now.
Oh, I just want to leave a side note because, like, a lot of people in my channel might not know what SPTV is. So, SPTV is Suppressive Person TV, and it's like a genre on YouTube that is connected to, but it's not exclusively this, but it's connected to people that left Scientology and survived abuse in Scientology. And also supporters of stopping the abuse in Scientology.
Like me, what little network, little genre can say they have their own poet, Yeah, and back, I think it was back in March, I was watching Aaron, and he was messing around with ChatGPT, and the chat was having him have it write limericks and haikus and poetry, and I was like, wait a minute here, I can do better. That's where this came from. And I started exploring, the humor of limericks, and so, and it's real. They make it too easy, it's just the characters there. I have, like, in this book, I have like four or five of them making fun of David Miscavige.
Which, for those who don't know who David Miscavige is, you can tell us, Bryan.
The ecclesiastical leader of Scientology, who's rather short. Let's see here. Oh, this is Captain. You know how he's called COB, or chairman of the board. I think now he's called Source or something like that.
Oh God.
Yeah. It just gets. Yeah, and then his rank in the Sea Org is captain, which he hates being called captain. So I have a series called Captain COB, and this is the fourth one. It goes, old COB is said to be rather short, which gets him just a little bit out of sorts. What's the big fuss, my little homunculus? Why not smile and be a good sport?
I don't even know what's funnier, the writing or your delivery. The delivery is just not funny.
Yeah, I like reading. One of the, I getting nervous, public, speaking in public and all that stuff. Most people do.
Oh yeah, apparently it's one of the most common fears.
But I can get up and read my poetry. I get over myself. And you know, it took my first time doing it back in I entered college in the fall of '90, and the University of Central Arkansas, where I went at the time, they had this uh, publication called the Vortex. It was for students, and they would sponsor readings. And I just, for the first year and a half, 2 years, almost, yeah, that I was in school, I didn't do them. And then it was the fall of '92. I had a classmate die, and I that was actually the first poem I ever got published because I wrote a poem about her. She was in the class before me. Her name was Andrea Bowie, and
Wait,
it's
Andrea
her name was Andrea Bowie.
Bowie, okay, not Bowie.
Bowie, Bowie, Bowie,
Okay.
kind of like Dave or Bowie, kind of like David Bowie, or Jim Bowie, the Texas hero, So yeah, the Bowies are a big family around here, big landowners and stuff. And the first poem I ever got published was in the local newspaper after she died she was 19. Oh. She just turned 19, and a very beautiful girl, from what I remember, a very good girl, a very good person, and just one of those that was taken away from us too young. And I wrote a poem about her, and it got published, and I decided to read it, and that's what got me to actually start reading. And after that, I got the bug. It was just like every single one I could do. And then after I dropped out of school, I didn't do anything like that, until just recently.
I never did any reading, by the way, ever.
Oh, it's fun. It can be fun. And it's very validating too. Back in the end of October, beginning of November, there's this weekly Wednesday night poetry reading in Hot Springs, Arkansas. It is the longest continuous thing like that in the nation. It's been going since 1989.
Whoa.
Various different places, but right now it's at this they have it at this coffee place called Connections Coffee and Tea. I found out about it. I've actually found out about it several years ago, and that was right when the lockdown was going on. So it was just like, okay, and then I did some searching, and it was like, oh, okay. And this was just recently. So first time I read in almost 30 years was just not too long ago. I actually am wanting to go tomorrow night too. Maybe I will. Yeah. If not, then there's always next week. Because they do it every Wednesday.
How cool. Yeah, where I live right now, we don't have any of that. That's really cool.
Yeah. Well, Hot Springs is a little over an hour's drive, so it's not like, make a day of it, go down there. It's a nice place.
It's nice.
A lot of history there and stuff, but yeah, I read my I have this trilogy called about my hometown called Enola. My town's called Enola, and I read that one. And one of the things they do is they'll snap. If they instead of clapping during it, they'll snap.
Oh wow! I would be super hyper vigilant, like waiting for people to snap.
I got a lot of them.
Oh damn!
Yeah, and it was nerve wracking. Oh my god!
You should have told me that in the beginning of the stream, so I could while you were talking, where you were reading.
Yeah. So you want to hear this poem about my friend?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Yeah, and oh wow, we've been on for almost 2 hours.
Yeah, we'll wrap it. We'll give it another 10 minutes and then wrap it up. It's okay.
Okay, or if people got any questions.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so this one's called Epitaph. And it's in memoriam, Andrea Nicole Bowie, August 3rd, 1973 to October 31st, 1992. Never an unkind word when I'd see you in the halls. Always laughter in your eyes and bounce in your step. You affected me more than you will ever know. Just seeing your pretty smile lifted a cloud off my day, letting the sun shine through for just a few brief moments. Then your candle flickered out, leaving less light to penetrate the darkness. Although I didn't know you that well, I pray that you are happy in the world that you go to now. But LA woman, remember, whenever, wherever you may be, your memory still keeps your spark alive.
Aw.
Yeah, yeah, and I wrote that just it was I don't remember the reasons why. I just wrote it as a tribute to her. Like I said, I didn't know her that well. We ran in different circles, what few circles were around here, and I remember after it got of course they published it, and my sister, who's 11 years younger than me, and Andrea's youngest sister were near each other's age. I think they were maybe separated by one class, but of course they attended some of the same things. And I think there was a basketball game, and my mom came. I was living here. My mom came home, and she told me because that she'd went to it with my sister, and she came home and told me that Andrea's mother, who never talked to my mom, came up to her and thanked me. It said to thank me for writing it. So it was a tragic thing, because like I said, she was a very, very pretty woman, very pretty girl, very good person, had a lot of potential, but it was snuffed out. So on that note,
I mean, do you want me to read one uplifting poem? Maybe two.
yeah, sure. Let's. I want to hear some of your stuff.
Oh, I'm just gonna read one because this stream is all about you, Bryan the poet. I think one day, like eventually, I'll start like doing some streams, just reading some of my stuff, so people kind of know.
I got me an extra monitor. I got me a new monitor, and I want to do some poetry streams with different poets. So we need to talk about that.
Okay. Okay, so.
I'll
but my delivery is not as good as yours, so people brace yourselves, because you just got like a pro reader, and now it's just Jen. Just Jen.
I'm glad you like mine.
Yes. So, this one is, it's like it's about a eucalyptus tree, because I really like eucalyptus trees, and basically it's like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. So, it's called Under the Eucalyptus Tree. Last Thursday afternoon, I ran towards a calling where I found the warmest cocoon in the middle of the forest. It showed visions of the past, projections of the future, so I sat there to fulfill the quest to finally end my own vulture. I asked why it's called morning if I can barely see the light. It told me blink twice, look forward, change the focal point in your sight. For a minute I surrendered to the evening getting colder, as it whispered, live in the now, because memories only grow older. Then and there I shut my eyes to taste the familiar aroma of the greatest arrival within, awakening my emotional coma. So tonight I invite you to lie where I like to go alone. I'll take you back to that place, and I'm sure you'll call it home.
That's good. Yeah.
I get very shy. I get very shy with these.
Very, very good use of rhyme and meter.
I really like rhyming a lot with the stuff, so.
Me too. Me too. That shows like a lot of my influences, early influences, songs.
Yeah. If I had grown up in the Bronx, I would have been a rapper.
If I would have learned how to play an instrument, I'd probably be a songwriter.
Oh, I would.
As it is, I play the drums. I never had the discipline to pick up an instrument, but I have all these melodies and crap in my head.
Oh, same. I think with poetry that happens often.
That's how I approach my writing. And I try to get to the rhythms and hit the different beats, and I still don't I don't know the technical aspects of it, and that's one of the things I'm working on changing. Because one of my goals for this year is to get my butt back in school. Yeah, I went for 4.5 years to the University of Central Arkansas, and I never finished. Between that time and now, I've gone to several places, like a bunch of online, did a bunch of online stuff, but never finished. And the best, I hate online classes. The best I've ever done is actually going to a brick and mortar. Actually going and doing it. And so that's my goal. Plus, I want to, if I can, pick up where I left off and actually finish it.
You can do that, although you dropped out how many years ago?
30 years, almost 30
But
years.
can you pick up at where you left off, kind of? Did they let you?
I think so, but
that'd be good.
What I want to do is change my emphasis, because back then it was sociology and literature, right? Because they didn't have the creative writing program. And since then, a lot of the classes and stuff that I've taken have been history, right? So, like I said, I'm an armchair historian. I love it's a story, and so plan on getting my degree in history, and then with a minor in creative writing.
That's nice.
Because they actually have a creative writing program now. The only thing that is keeping me from going to the creative writing just strictly is the fact that to get a bachelor's of arts, you have to take language. And I don't have the tongue for a foreign language.
Try Duolingo.
Well, I do know a little bit of sign language.
That's cool.
When I was in New Mexico. Yeah, when I was in New Mexico, I was, going for the bachelor's in history and stuff, and they required a language, and they offer sign language. So I do have two units of sign language.
Typical introvert, huh?
Yeah, sign language. What's it? My sign name is it starts with a B, go to the heart, an L.
I would like to know sign language. It's just too bad. One thing that I find is too bad is that there's not like a universal one. So
yeah, you got.
It would be so nice because I would love to
Well, American Sign Language is based on French Sign Language, and they have a lot of the same dictions. And I just learned recently that British Sign Language is different. They do their alphabet differently. Yeah, it's like I'm friends with Selena, Kamar, and she knows a little bit of it. We were talking about it and stuff. But
it's too bad that it's different because I think. But I definitely think that should have been one of the options that they would just give people like from like high school up, because it's necessary. Like accessibility, like it'd be really good. Like learning as a kid would be.
And sign language is fun. It can be fun. Like my ex-wife, my ex-sister-in-law has the Mariner's disease. Where you slowly lose your hearing.
Oh, I didn't know the name, but yeah.
Yeah, it's Mariner's.
I think I've heard. Yes.
You slowly lose your hearing. So she knows sign language, and my ex knows sign language. So I was taking some classes and everything. And one of the fun times is we were in Home Depot one time talking to each other with sign language, and people were like, "What the hell am I saying?" So.
I'm trying to learn two new languages, and I learned another one during the lockdown.
So yeah, there's still a lot of hoops that I have to jump through in order to do that. But I'm giving myself till summer, and then get myself back into it. I've got, one of the reasons I went into the military is for my GI Bill. And I'll qualify for
that's
grants
really
and
nice.
all that
That's
other
really
stuff.
good.
But, yeah, so hopefully soon.
Now you have to do it because you said it on a live stream, and people are going to be watching this like a year from now. They're going to be like, "So is Bryan doing the thing or?"
Yeah. So, but of course we'll have updates and everything, and I'm looking forward to
cool.
it. Because I not only because it'll satisfy my my brain, but there's the social aspect to it too. and and getting around like-minded people with different points of view, especially like the art community in Conway has grown by leaps and bounds since I was originally in college. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. They might not like some of my opinions because my best friend that was in one of my friend that went into the Navy before I did. I was his brother was my roommate. He actually got his MFA from UCA after he got out of the Navy, and he's an artist, brilliant sculptor. Brilliant. Oh, I wish I had a tenth of the talent this man has. And he has certain views on certain things, and it clashed with some of the younger generation and stuff. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what I can see there, because my opinions differ from other people's opinions, and I'm just see how it goes.
As long as people are available for like intelligent discussions with different opinions, which seems to be a problem nowadays in some areas and societies.
Yes, especially when we're talking about politics.
Yes, and I think I'm a fan of just being able to communicate even when it's uncomfortable subjects, because I think we can all learn from each other if we're open to it. I think we shouldn't have a dictatorship again, and we shouldn't live in a
and kind of like my own personal philosophy. Like I said, I the middle way, the middle road.
It's balance.
It's hard. It's a hard path to follow. A very, very hard path to follow, because being a naturally empathetic person, I can see both people's both sides' point of view.
Yeah, same.
And the me being an armchair historian, I understand how these points of view came to be, and unfortunately, a lot of people, in my experience, a lot of people don't know.
Oh, that. Yes. I talk about this a lot here at home with my partner. And,
we've got here in the United States, we got like with the media, for example, you got legacy media, you got alternative media, and then you got the infotainment side of it, the spectrum. And back in the 80s, there was this doctrine called fairness in reporting, right? I don't know if it was actual official or it was an unwritten thing, but when Rupert Murdoch came on the scene with Fox News, that went out the window. And then you get progression to what we have now.
And
when you can't trust people, you can't trust.
And when you look at, and it's also like when you look at European history and like how many like dictatorships that were here and everything, you see that getting to a point in a society where we have to walk on eggshells when we're talking is dangerous, because it makes us go from accepting everyone to creating social division. It's very dangerous.
Fear
is the mind killer.
That's what, and it is the
mind killer.
And it also it checks those boxes. Everything, it checks those boxes too. Checking those boxes on different things. Anyways, where we got?
By the way, Dune Part 2 is coming this year, and what the hell? You just disappeared again. No. What?
Well, okay. So I guess this might. Can they hear
they can hear you, yes, but I don't want you to just disappear and not be able to see the people. Like not. I mean, more like the people not seeing you, because you can't see the people anyway. But I want people to be able to see you, because this is not fun when it's just me. Hold on, I'm gonna put you back because this is not fun. When our guest is not here, we be sad. We be very sad. Okay, we're back. Oh gosh,
Yeah, I'm actually looking
So
at
you're
it. My
seeing
say Brian,
you're seeing what's going
there I
on.
am.
There you are. Now you are kind of cutting me. Okay. There you go.
Okay.
People in the chat must be like, "Oh God, what happened? You grew. What happened?"
I don't know. It's weird.
This is OBS needs to stop its bull crap like right now. Right
Okay,
now,
so
OBS. Don't embarrass me, OBS.
does anybody got any questions?
So there is a question from Joel. He wants to know if you are sitting in a lazy boy.
Yeah,
That is a
yeah. It's
very American traditional thing. It's very lovely.
my friend, the artist friend, actually gave this to me. Yeah,
It looks comfortable. I'm not gonna lie to you.
it,
It looks really comfortable.
it is.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
look at the questions. Oh well, I did start another thing. Uh,
What?
Pup Groomer said, "I love listening to you, Brian. You remind me of my cousin that we lost 5 years ago. You make me smile."
Oh, thanks, pup.
And there's a lot of other people that said, "You're full screen again." There's a lot of people that said other things, like that it was good for you that you didn't hit back, and talking about the
Yeah,
black holes and everything. But then you can
yeah.
go back to the chat and look at that, because
Mhm.
there's some nice comments and nice people. I don't know what's going on now. I'm making you. Oh gosh, it really really embarrassing. The way that OBS is
Uh,
making me sweat here is embarrassing, honestly.
yeah, that's the beauty of live broadcasting.
I mean, that's the beauty of poor person live broadcasting. I don't know. I don't know if it stretched you. Look, because like now it's stretching you like crazy. Like now you're very big.
I don't. I
Oh, good thing you didn't see, because you.
okay.
I might just full screen you and give up on myself, really. If this keeps going, I'm just gonna full screen Brian till the end of the stream, and that's it.
Okay.
Okay, okay. Let's hope it stays.
Okay.
Whew. Oh.
Okay.
So the ethical Taylor, Claire is saying it just adds humor to the stream.
Mm,
And stress, humor to you guys. I'm sweating here, okay? I am sweating, and I'm still trying to rock the hoodie thing. So, guys,
well, if you can't laugh, then
yeah. Oh, I can laugh,
mm,
especially at my own embarrassment. I'm very good at that.
right. Yeah, self-deprecating humor is be
I'm a
funny.
pro at that.
Yeah.
Well, it was
Yeah.
really nice talk. Oh
Uh,
God, again. Oh gosh, guys, what's going on here? What kind of sorcery is this,
oh,
guys? Oh, he's back.
I don't know. Maybe. Okay.
It's making me sweat. Well, as I was saying, it was really nice talking to you, Brian, and I'm pretty sure this will not be the last
Oh,
time we'll
yes.
talk.
Of course. Yes, definitely. Yeah. There's a lot more to my story that we can go into. Uh, some things I eventually want to do. Write about my life, do something about my journey and everything. And right now, there are some things that you know I got to work through to before I can put it out there. But this helps.
Oh my gosh, it's doing it again. But
Yeah. Well, we just need to sign off then.
I don't know. I think OBS gets exhausted too, for some reason. Because it was doing great. It was doing great, and now it's just embarrassing me again.
Mhm.
I don't know why this is going on, but I hope people in the stream are laughing instead of thinking
Mhm.
about the massive failure that I am as a stream host. Okay.
No, this has been great.
Yeah, it was really nice talking to you and getting to know you. I'm pretty sure that people also really like the stream. People really interacting and being really
Mhm,
inspired about the things we were talking about.
mhm.
So thank you so much for sharing a part of your story. Thank you so much for reading. And you will surely be back. I really
Okay.
want to know about the
Mhm.
news, about when you go back to school. And you'll be back.
Well,
You'll be
that'll be a
back to
little
tell
while.
us about that. And yeah,
Definitely.
I mean, you're always welcome. Anytime you want to do any reads and stuff, you're always welcome here.
Well, we'll talk about that
We will
offline
for sure. Thank you so much, Brian, and thank you guys for listening.
then. Mhm.
Don't
Thanks
forget
for
to
having me.
like,
Thanks for
don't forget to like
everybody.
and subscribe,
Thanks
and
everybody.
do not forget to follow Bryan Lucas at From a Poet 8105. That is his handle. Okay, guys.
Mhm.
Um, Don't forget to do that. Go give him some love in the channel.
Mhm.
Check out his book on Amazon. I'll leave the links below as well. And I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
Mhm. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Oh.